Thanks for tuning in. My name's Kevin Duty, and you're watching Duty's Daggers. We got a review today, the Finch Harvester. But first of all, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and push the subscribe button. You'll be really glad you did. And follow me on Instagram at duties_daggers to be all up to date on channel news and see some photos over there. So, the Finch Harvester. If you've been following my channel, you know that I've been in a little bit of a Finch craze recently. It all started when my buddy Dean gave me the Finch holiday, and this was the first time I ever handled a Finch, and really was kind of smitten with them. And then my other buddy Jason decided to lend me a couple Finches for review to have on the channel, and this Harvester is one of them. The other one is the Buffalo Tooth, which I just reviewed. You can go watch a review on that one if you want to know more about the Buffalo Tooth. But today's video is about the Harvester here. I really like this knife. This is a cool one. Let's look at some specs right off the bat. This is a full-size, well, I wouldn't call it a big knife. It's definitely a medium-sized knife. I can get a full grip on it, though, easily. There's also even a choke-up position here, which we'll talk about. We're looking at a blade length of 2 3/4 inch. Overall, we're looking at 4 3/4 inch, and a closed length of 3 7/8. And if you want to know the width this way, since it is kind of wide with this blade shape, we are at 1 3/8 of an inch. Despite it being a little bit wider here, this thing carries very, very well. It's a little weighty since we have a lot of stainless steel here, but you know it's not too heavy to where it kind of weighs you down. It's just heavy enough to feel premium, feel quality, feel sturdy. I think this thing is really, really good for EDC, especially considering the blade shape, which we'll talk about. Let's do some size comparisons so you can kind of get an idea of how big the knife is. We can put it up the other Finches here, next to the other Finches. The Buffalo Tooth. Let me do it over here. The Buffalo Tooth and the Holiday, all kind of right around the same size. The Finch is a little bit longer, but actually pretty close to the same length as the Buffalo Tooth, even though the Buffalo Tooth is much, much wider. How about the Spyderco PM2 Demco 8020.5, which I am selling, by the way. Hit me up on Instagram or email me if you're interested. I'm selling this one to get funds to buy the full titanium version. Let's grab some Civivis, Civivi Altus, and the Civivi Conspirator. There you go. And then let's do the old Rat. The old Rat 2, pretty similar there. And we'll do, what should we do? We'll do the Benchmade Reptilian. There we go. So yeah, definitely on the small side of medium. But like I said, absolutely still get a full grip on it. This thing is actually ergonomically pretty darn good. So, what would you guys call this blade shape? I would call it some kind of, I don't know. I would say Sheepsfoot, but this is almost a totally straight edge, which makes me think more of a Wharncliffe. It's somewhere in between a Wharncliffe and a Sheepsfoot. I'll just leave it at that. The blade steel here we have is 154 cm. See it right there. Finch uses 154 cm on all their knives, and I think it's a really fantastic choice. 154 cm is actually one of my favorite blade steels. It's just, it's easy to sharpen. It holds an edge well, and it's just it's a good mix between easy to sharpen and good edge retention, which is why I like it so much. So good choice on that. It gets pretty darn thin at the edge. On all three of these finches, the ones that I've handled, they are all very thin at the edge. Very, very, very thin, very slicey blades, which I love. To me, these finch knives are not hard use knives. They are classy, slicey, knives on the smaller end of the spectrum, which, is perfect for most of us. Most of us are not hard using our knives. Most of us are opening packages, cutting paper, cardboard, things like that. So if that's what you do with your knives, these finches are going to be great for you. And this harvester in particular, because of the blade shape. Now you can grasp it like this. You can put your pointer finger right behind this hump right here, and you can get a ton of pressure down on that point for draw cuts, utility style cuts where you're dragging the edge, cutting something. This would be great for like doing leather work, for cutting some leather. Anything like that would be really good for this knife. As far as the construction, we have green micarta here. We have the Finch shield logo there, which actually glows in the dark. I'll show you that real quick. The material covering the logo is actually sapphire, which is a very hard material, very scratch resistant. Kind of cool that they use that. We have stainless steel bolsters and liners, all a good polish on everything. We have a couple little milling lines here just for looks. On the lock side, we have a titanium pocket clip. Super, super cool. Now, on all Finch knives, they all have titanium clips, but they're all a little bit different. You can see on the Holiday, it's a little different, and on the Buffalo Tooth, a little different. I love that. I love that they don't have one clip for all their knives. They make the clips specifically for that design, which I think is really, really cool. They're not just slapping on any old clip. They really thought about this clip and how it complements the knife. And I think this clip complements this knife very well. It does not create a hot spot at all. None whatsoever. Do not even feel it. And it goes in and out of the pocket super duper well. On my Holiday, which is the same, it rises the same amount from the scale, so it's going to go in and out of the pocket the same. I can get this in and out of my Carhartts very easily, which are a nice thick seam, so you're not going to have any problem getting these Finch knives in and out of your pockets. They all work really, really well. As far as the lock bar, we have a bolster lock, which is basically a frame lock, but we have this micarta inlay covering up a lot of the lock bar. So that's awesome, because the problem with some lock bars is that when you go to flick the knife open, you're accidentally putting pressure on it with your fingers back here, and it pushes down on the lock bar, making it hard for you to open the knife. But since this inlay is covering up a lot of the lock bar, you don't really have to worry about that. You just have to put your fingers down here somewhere, and you're going to have no problem flicking open the knife. I love that about bolster locks, and it's just kind of a cool look. You can see when it opens, it kind of closes the space between the lock bar and the inlay. It just looks kind of cool. Now there's no jimping down here on the lock bar, but it is absolutely not needed, and I'm glad they didn't put any in there. This lock bar is super duper comfortable and easy to push over. Just really easy to push over. Not a hot spot on your thumb as you're pushing it over at all. The same is for all these Finch knives that I've handled. They're all really, really easy just to push this lock bar over and disengage it. That, it has to do with the tension on the lock bar pushing this way is, they've fine-tuned it perfectly to where it's strong enough to keep the knife locked open, but it's not too strong to where it's uncomfortable to disengage. So just another thing that Finch has paid attention to and dialed in really perfectly. One more thing about these inlays, they are done very, very well. You can see the seam here where it meets the stainless is, it just looks really good. It looks very clean. Same on this back side. You run your finger across the two here and you can barely feel the difference between the two. That's the sign of a very good inlay. Really, really nice. It's not coming up anywhere. It's all perfectly flat against the liners. Really, really nice. We do have a nail nick in the blade here, which I think is more for looks. They have a lot of kind of classic slip joint elements in these knives. So, it doesn't hurt anything. In fact, I think it looks pretty good. And also, you can use it if you want to use it. Finch just does such a good job at melding the two worlds of modern pocket knives with classic slip joint knives into, creating a kind of a hybrid between the two. They do such a good job with it. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look hokey or cheesy. It just looks real classy. Very, very classy. Let's talk about the action. Like I said, you don't have to worry about putting pressure on this lock bar. The flipper tab is pretty darn comfortable to use. We have jimping on the top and the bottom side. The bottom side is what creates this choke up spot here when it's open. Really comfortable to flip. It really does not take much pressure to get this blade to pop open. Just a little bit of pressure, bam, it's open. So really good detent, and this is some fall shut action that we have here. Give it a little shake and it falls right down. I think that's because this blade is a bit heavier than like on my Holiday. It's just as smooth, but it's such a light blade that you kind of have to give it a couple shakes to get it down. But the actual action, as far as the smoothness is it's glassy. It is complete glassiness. You don't feel any grit in the pivot. Nothing holding that blade back from gliding shut. Very nice. Oopsie. Super duper nice action. Nice clicky detent. Sucks that blade right back in. Awesome action. Ergonomics, really surprisingly good. I don't know why I said surprisingly. I mean, just looking at the knife, you can tell it's a pretty neutral handle shape. We don't have any crazy finger choils or finger grooves or anything like that. It just kind of gently grows bigger towards the back here, and that's about it. So there's nothing to hurt your hand. Like I said, the pocket clip does not create a hot spot one bit, and we have this choke up spot which you can get into really comfortably. A little bit of jimping here on the spine. Again, I don't think it's really needed. This is not a super hard use knife, but it's there. Kind of provides a little more grippiness for you. And choked up, this is very comfortable. This is a cool knife. I really like it. I'm becoming a huge fan of Finch's. If you guys ever get a chance to hang out with one, I don't know why I said that. If you ever get a chance to hang out with a Finch knife, take the opportunity, because you're not really going to totally understand just how luxurious and quality these feel until you actually get to hold one yourself. It's just so well done. The finish on the blade is, on the website it says it's a brushed satin. It looks like a hand rubbed satin. I'm not sure if the brushed means that it's done by hand or not, but you can see the lines are going this way instead of how they usually go, which is this way from the belt sander. You can tell that this one was hand sanded and hand rubbed, hand brushed, whatever you want to call it. It just looks really nice. Really nice. Same goes with all these Finch blades. Very nice brushed finish on these guys. They're just quality. They are real quality. I think they're a pretty reasonable price too. Possibly a little on the high side. These are around $140. The buffalo tooth is more since it's all titanium. I believe it's around 200. But you know, I'm not too mad at the price. I think it could be a little bit high, but again, you're paying for good materials, 154 cm, fine material, micarta, the sapphire, the stainless steel, the titanium clip, the excellent construction, excellent fit and finish. Tolerances are all tight, so I'm not very mad at the price. And they're good to collect. There's only, I think, 12 Finch knives that they have out right now. So it's a really good knife to, you know, collect them all. I'm considering doing that myself. I just think, you know, they're all unique in their own ways. They all have their own specific blade shapes for their own specific tasks. And I don't know, I just think they would be a really cool thing to collect all of them. So, that's about it. That's the Finch Harvester. Really like this knife. Really like all these Finches. Sadly, I have to send back the Harvester and the buffalo tooth tomorrow. So thanks to Jason for letting me borrow those two. Super duper nice dude. And yeah, I'll be sad to see them go. But I think I will be purchasing more Finches in the future. That'll about do it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Oh, also, I do have a Patreon. I never talk about that because I started it when I didn't have very many subscribers. But I do have one. It's linked down below. And there's different tiers for different donation amounts. And there are different prizes and benefits for each one. So, yeah, if you're curious, go take a look. If not, fine with me. As long as you're watching my videos, that's all the support I can ask for. And I thank you very much for that. And that'll do it. Thanks for watching. Adios.